Hello, colleagues. The talk by Sergei PETOUKHOV, Genetic Boolean-logical coding, cyclicity in the living organisms, and cyclic gray codes, collective algebraic-logical consciousness. Under developing artificial intelligence, a well-known academic statement should be taken into account. Without mathematical logic, discussions about whether a machine can think lose all ground, and the urgent problem of creating artificial intelligence become meaningless. In artificial intelligence systems, engineers strive to embody the innate abilities of living organisms to consciously act for searching food, saving from predators, building homes, etc. It is characteristic that the physiology of active tissues is based on the fundamental binary law, all or nothing. A nerve cell and a muscle unit give only yes or no answers to the actions of various stimuli. They don't respond to subthreshold stimuli, but to suprathreshold stimuli. They respond with full amplitude. This is similar to the operation of computer triggers. Crocodiles and turtles, having hatched from their eggs, immediately crawl towards the water with completely coordinated movements based on the logically coordinated activity of millions of their binary working nerve and muscle cells. Such facts about genetically inherited biobodies suggest a possible connection between the genetic coding system and the Boolean algebra of logic. The objective of the talk, firstly, to show the connection between the genetic coding system and the Boolean algebra of logic and gray cyclic codes. Secondly, to argue my statement on the existence of a genetic end-plate code of Boolean functions, which is important for understanding the inherited logic of interrelations between body parts, in addition to the well-known genetic triplet code of amino acid sequences. Third, to present a concept of collective algebraic-logical consciousness associated with the Boolean genetic code as a subsection of the general topic of consciousness. The creators of quantum mechanics, Jordan and Schrödinger, pointed out the key difference between living bodies and inanimate ones. Inanimate objects are controlled by an average random movement of their millions of particles, and their movement of individual particles is not significant for the whole object. On the contrary, in a living organism, selected genetic molecules have a dictatorial influence on the entire organism due to quantum enhancement. See the history of quantum biology. In accordance with this, to reveal the secrets and patterns of living nature, it is necessary to study the universal rules of DNA informatics. Organism is a huge chorus of genetically inherited cyclic processes. Since ancient times, chronomedicine has believed that all diseases are the result of a violation of this coordination. Let me remind some examples of cyclic nature of biobodies. Our inherited proteins are engaged in continuous life-death cycles of their assembling and disassembling into amino acids. In other words, genetically inherited parts of our body are constantly dying and being reborn in a cyclical manner. Somatic cells of the body divide cyclically. Our breathing, cardiac activity, locomotion, etc. are cyclical. The energy cores for The cyclic events are taken from the universal source of energy for all biochemical processes of all living organisms on Earth, ATP. The lifetime of one ATP molecule in humans is less than 1 minute. During the day, one ATP molecule goes through an average of 2,000, 3,000 cycles of synthesis again and again. The human body synthesizes about 40 kilograms of ATP per day. Another illustrative example of cyclic organization in life is the metamorphosis of butterflies, consisting of the stages butterfly, egg, caterpillar, pupa, butterfly. It is characteristic that no one teaches the butterfly how to get out of the pupa and begin to fly, but it gets out and begins to fly due to inherited cyclic movements of its wings, cyclic genetic biomechanics. Everything necessary for this is already available in its genomic code informatics. Many such facts suggest that the genetic coding system ensures the inheritance of coded cyclic processes, since this system itself is based on some cyclic codes. But which of the many types of cyclic codes known in mathematics corresponds to the structural organization of the genetic coding system? I have obtained some pieces of evidence about the important role of the family of cyclic gray codes for the modeling of the genetic coding system. Received results allow me to introduce the following effective model postulate. Living organisms are cyclically coded cyclic entities. A binary gray code of order n is a sequence of 2 in n and bit numbers in which any two adjacent numbers differ by exactly 1 bit digit. The Hamming distance between them is 1. Gray codes of different orders form a hierarchical family, since a gray code of order n is obtained from a gray code of order n-1 algorithmically. Gray codes are widely used in technology for information noise immunity, etc., etc. Numbers in the gray code are fundamentally different from binary numbers, although they also consist of sequences of zeros and ones. For example, the decimal number 3 in binary notation is 011, but in gray code it is 010. In DNA, the alphabet of four nucleotides T, A, C, and G is the carrier of a system of binary oppositional characteristics. Firstly, two of these nucleotides are purines, A and G, which have two rings in the molecule, and the other two, C and T, are pyrimidines containing one ring, which gives a representation in blue. C and T is equal 0, A and G is equal to 1. Secondly, two of these nucleotides are keto molecules, T and G, and the other two, C and A, are amino molecules, which gives a representation in red. C and A is 0, T and G is 1. Because of this, DNA alphabets of 4 letters, 16 duplets, and 64 triplets are presented in the form of square tables, the columns of which are numbered with the oppositional indicators pyrimidine or purine in blue, and the rows with the opposition indicators amino or keto in red. In these genetic tables, rows and columns are numbered by ordered numbers of n-bit gray codes, similar to Carnot maps, a well-known maps or method for simplifying Boolean algebra expressions. Such numeration was applied specially to search a possible communication of the genetic code system with Boolean algebra of logic. In such tables, all monoplets, duplets, and triplets automatically occupy a strictly individual place. Each cell in these matrices, as well as the n-plet in it, is numbered by concatenation of the gray code numberings of its row and column. We conventionally called such square tables as genetic Carnot matrices. Arrangements of 4 monoplets, 16 duplets, and 64 triplets are shown here in the genetic Carnot matrices with numbering of columns and rows according to gray codes. How are the amino acids and stop codons they encode? Located in a matrix of 64 triplets constructed in this way. This arrangement cannot be predicted, since the amino acids and nucleotides ACGT are completely different in structure. The number of options for the arrangement of amino acids with their repetitions to fill the entire 8 and 8 matrix is immeasurable, much more than 10 in 100 power. For comparison, in physics, the lifetime of the universe is estimated only at 10 in 17 power seconds. Will this arrangement be chaotic, or will it suddenly turn out to be naturally symmetrical? The following figure shows the case of the vertebrate mitochondrial genetic code, which is considered to be the most ancient and symmetrical among the genetic code dialects. It turns out that from the ocean of possibilities, nature chose a regular and symmetric variant of the repetition and arrangement of amino acids and stop codons in this matrix of 64 triplets. The shown matrix of encoded amino acids and stop codons consists of pairs of adjacent rows 0 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6 and 7, identical in composition of amino acids and stop codons, shown in color here. For example, rows 0 and 1 contain the same composition and arrangement of red amino acids, proline, glutamine, histidine, etc. The rows in each of the indicated pairs with repetition of amino acids and stop codons in them differ in that the sequence of 60-bit numbers of their 16 cells forms a cyclic sequence with unit Hamming distance between adjacent cells. Each of the named pairs of rows has a regular cyclic structure of the arrangement of all amino acids encoded by different triplets, and amino acid of any type is located only in those cells whose 6-bit numbers form a cyclic sequence with a single Hamming distance between neighbors. For example, in the upper pair of lines 0 and 1, the amino acid proline, encoded by 4 different triplets, is located in 4 cells whose numbers form a cycle of the gray code type. Look at slide. Cells in Carnot maps are known as min terms, while each cell value represents the corresponding output value of the Boolean function. The presented genetic facts show one of the examples of a connection of the DNA and plets alphabets with systems of Boolean functions. Mutual replacement of binary symbols 0 and 1 in the gray code, complementarity operation, generates a complementary cyclic sequence with a shifted order of terms and a unit Hamming distance between neighboring terms. The application of this operation of complementarity to a new sequence generates the original gray code associated with the property of self-duplication and multiplication of DNA. Look at slide. Based on analogies between the structural properties of the genetic coding system and gray codes, I am developing a family of models of cyclic genetic biomechanics using symmetry principles and my model postulate. Living organisms are cyclically coded cyclic entities. In particular, in these models, the well-known fact is used that gray codes are closely related to the fractal Hilbert curve, which allows you to discretize any space, creating a convenient coordinate system in it. This relates to the problem of how genetic transformation recording on one-dimensional DNA strands determines the three-dimensional morphology of living bodies. It is important that the spatial packaging of chromatin in the genome turns out to correspond to the Hilbert curve, which is its polymer fractal 3D globule featured on the cover of the journal Science. Look at slide. It should be added that gray codes are closely related to Walsh functions, Harmon frequency analysis, and spectral logic, which are widely used in communication technology, aerospace image analysis, logical holography on Walsh functions, Walsh antennas with unique properties, dyadic clocks, and many other technologies and concepts. Yes, please see this article. The relationship is useful for developing new approaches to modeling hereditary phenomena and artificial intelligence problems. An example of inherited abilities for conscious actions is echolocation in dolphins, bats, etc. A dolphin, due to its sonar system of bioantennas, locates a pellet that has fallen into the water at a distance of 15 meters, distinguishes the sizes of objects of the same shape that differ by a few percent, distinguishes, like a tomograph, the details of the internal structure and the shape of objects in the water or a layer of silt at a distance of 3 kilometers. It distinguishes the breed and size of fish. The properties of its antenna system resemble similar properties of digital antenna systems of modern technology, called intelligent antennas. The results of my study indicate that DNA nucleotide sequences encoded not only amino acid sequences in proteins, but also inherited logical connections. They indicate that the genetic coding system has two different types of code. Firstly, the long-known triplet code of amino acid sequences. Secondly, the n-plet code of Boolean function. Taking into account the genetic Boolean code allows us to better understand the innate ability of a butterfly to emerge from its chrysalis and begin to fly, which is impossible without the logical coordination of millions of its neurons and muscle units. Let me repeat the quote: without mathematical logic, discussions about whether a machine can think lose all ground, and the urgent problem of creating artificial intelligence becomes meaningless. Taking into account the claimed genetic Boolean-and code provides an explanation for a number of difficult questions in genetic informatics, such as why the overwhelming majority of genomic DNA sequences do not encode any proteins, why the degeneracy of the genetic code of amino acid sequences is needed, in which 20 amino acids are encoded by 64 triplets. What causes the existence of jumping genes? Why DNA and RNA alphabets are structurally related to dyadic groups of binary numbers and Walsh functions, etc. For explanation, see this article. The presented identification of structural links between the genetic coding system and the algebra of logic brings to mind the founder of mathematical logic, George Boole, and his book, An Investigation of the Laws of Thought, on which the mathematical theories of logic and probabilities are based. The mathematical logic proposed by Boole was considered useless for practice for decades, but now computer technologies, the internet, variants of artificial intelligence, etc., are based on it. The future of algebraic biology, in my opinion, is also connected with Boole's creation. Collective algebra-logical consciousness. Next section. In biology, is saturated with phenomena of purposeful logical interaction between parts of a whole biosystems. The discovery of the connection between the genetic coding system and Boolean functions, Boolean genetic code, etc., provides new approaches to understanding these fundamental phenomena inherited from generation to generation. Let us consider some examples. The single-celled organism, Mixotricha paradoxa, moves due to 250,000 spiral bacteria Treponema spirochetes located on its surface. The spiral flagella of which twist in a coordinated manner as a single whole, ensuring the appropriate movement in the required directions and speeds due to logical interactions and logical control. Volvox algae are colonial mobile organisms consisting of many flagellated unicellular organisms and purposefully moving due to logically coordinated beating of the flagella of all cells. In biology, it is believed that multicellular organisms evolved from unicellular organisms through such colonial forms. It can be assumed that the foundations of logical relationships between the components of colonial organisms pass to multicellular organisms, including humans. Holistic organisms, when solving collective problems, also interact with each other on the basis of innate logical mechanisms without the need of complex individual learning. Examples: the dance of bees with the transfer of information through the logic of movements. Second, collectivism in ant colony, where each ant has its own specialization, but acts in the interest of the colony, on whose survival its life depends. At the same time, a complex system of communication between individuals operates for common purposeful actions, we can conventionally say that the ant hill has a collective logical consciousness. Multi-million termite communities are endowed with collective logical consciousness, mega brain, creating the unthinkable for an individual insect. They build termite mounds up to 13 meters high with a huge system of air ducts and living chambers in order to maintain a certain humidity and temperature necessary for their life. They conduct agriculture, growing mushrooms in termite mounds to feed, to feed the colony, etc. It seems that biological self-organization as a whole is based on the inherited logic of interrelations connected with the Boolean algebra of logic, with which the system of genetic coding and the fundamental law of all or nothing of active biotissues are related. The intellectual power of living tissues takes into account the laws of the surrounding worlds and adjusts living bodies to them through its algebraic logical principles of functioning. In the general philosophical and difficult to define concept of consciousness, I propose to single out as its subdivision collective algebraic logical consciousness. To model its manifestations, one can use the formalisms of Boolean algebra of logic associated with genetic coding, the fundamental law of all of nothing or nothing of active biotissues, etc. On this path, mutual enrichment of biology and engineering is seen, since on the basis of Boolean operators functions in technology, multi-cyclic circuits with finite automaton mappings are built, having memory and containing cycles, unlike single-cyclic circuits that do not have memory. Much work should be done else in this direction. Conclusions. Firstly, the connection between the genetic coding system and the Boolean algebra of logic and gray cyclic codes has been revealed. Second, the statement on the existence of a genetic unplayed code of Boolean functions, which is important for understanding the inherited logic of interactions between body parts, has been put forward and argued. Third, the proposed concept of collective algebraic logical consciousness as a subsection of the general topic of consciousness, coupled with the Boolean genetic code, can be used for understanding logical interactions in colonies of collective organisms. Some of the materials of the talk are presented in my book, Algebraic Biology, Matrix Genetics, and Genetic Intelligence, co-authored with Professor Matthew He, USA, and, and also in my article in Biosystems. Yes, they are also contained in a number of publications open for reading on my website. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.